I've known Elias Cray for near on 20 years. Never once saw that man ask for help, never once saw him reach out a hand to anyone.
Elias had been alone on that ranch for 5 years after his wife passed. 5 years of silence, dust, and cattle.
Nobody went out to that ranch unless they had business. And most folks had stopped having business with Elias a long time ago.
That morning started the same as any other. Elias was up before dawn. He said later he almost didn't go behind the barn.
I remember that morning real clear. I was bringing feed out to the North Corral when I heard him shout my name.
I dropped everything and ran. And when I came around the back of the barn, I saw what he'd found. There was a woman graying, curled up tight against the wall.
She was barely breathing. Her dress was torn and filthy, her feet were bare and cut up bad. There were bruises on her arms.
Mr. Cray just stood there for a second. I could see his jaw working, like he was trying to figure out what the right thing was. I truly did. But then she made this sound, this tiny sound like a kitten mewing, and it was a crack.
He didn't hesitate. Elias slid his arms under her and lifted her up like she weighed nothing at all. She tried to fight. He told me to ride into town and fetch Doc Harlan. Said, don't stop, don't talk to nobody, just get the doctor.
When Billy came tearing into town on that half-broke mare, white as a sheet and hollering for me, I knew something was wrong.
I got to the ranch inside an hour. Elias had laid her on the bed in the spare room. He'd cleaned her face, put water beside her, covered her with a quilt.
She was in bad shape. Dehydrated, malnourished, that gash.
Elias asked me one question, just one. He said, Doc, is she gonna make it? She slept for almost 2 full days. Elias barely left that chair. Martha, that's my wife, she came out.
I told my husband, I said, that man hasn't slept in 2 days, sitting beside a stranger's bed. And you know what he said?
When she finally opened her eyes, Barum, really opened them eyes, the first thing she saw was Idris in that chair.
You're safe here. Nobody's gonna hurt you anymore.
Why did you help me?
You don't even know me.
He handed her the cup and she drank like she'd never taste water again. And when she was done, she looked at him, really looked at him that eye. That first night she spoke, Elias came into the kitchen while I was washing up. He looked at me and he said, Martha, I don't know who she is.
The first week was the hardest. She wouldn't speak, wouldn't eat unless you left the room first. She'd press herself against the wall if you came in.
I kept bringing food. Broth at first, then bread, then whatever I could manage. I'd set it on the nightstand.
Elias, now at the sod, he figured it out before any of us. He'd come to the door of her room and just sit on the floor in the hallway.
Nice. I checked on her every other day that first week. The cuts were healing, the bruises were fading.
I told Elias Try, don't push her. It takes proving you're safe over and over every single day.
On the 4th day, something changed.
I didn't make a fuss. I just smiled at her and pointed to the chair by the table. Sit down, honey. These biscuits are almost ready.
That evening, Elias came in from the fields and she was sitting at his kitchen table drinking tea from one of his cups.
I see you found Martha's biscuits. They're better than mine.
She is kind. You are all kind. I do not understand.
That was the night she spoke for the first time. I mean, really spoke. She told Martha her name was Ayana. She said it means eternal blossom.
She didn't tell us everything that night. She just gave us pieces. She said she'd been walking for days.
When she said that the barn was a good place to stop in, we all knew what she meant. She meant to stop living.
She speaks directly into the camera, her voice dropping to a whisper, a soft smile breaking through.
I started teaching her about the ranch that week. She took that brush and she started grooming that horse like she'd been doing it her whole life.
Wait to that, no, that was Billy talking. I need to tell you what I saw. I was coming to check on her and that stiff met me on the porch. He said, Doc, she was gonna die behind my barn. She chose my barn to die in. And I keep thinking, what if I hadn't gone around?
Ayana Bag, come look at this. The sunrise over the mesa this morning.
It looks like the sky is healing from a wound.
Beautiful.
I was sweeping the porch when I saw them standing there together watching this. Not touching, not talking.
Yeah, but I knew, even then, that the hard part wasn't over. It was just beginning. Because Elias Cray lived in a...
It took about 2 weeks for word to spread. In a town this small, secrets don't last. By Sunday morning, the whole congregation knew.
I didn't mean no harm by it. I swear I didn't. I just said Mr. Cray was helping a woman who was hurt.
I was the first one to say it, and I won't pretend otherwise. An unmarried man keeping a savage woman under his roof, it's indecent. It's dangerous.
I told Margaret Hollis to her face, Dave, that woman was half dead when Elias found her. But Margaret just looked at me with that pinched little smile and said, some of us have standards.
The sheriff came out to the ranch on a Tuesday. Rode up slow. Elias was mending a gate, didn't stop working. That's Elias for you, bae. You come to his land, you wait until he's ready.
I rode out there as a courtesy, man to man. I told Crane you're on him. People are talking. They're worried.
She's hurt, she's healing, and she's my guest. That's all the answer you need, and that's all the answer you're getting.
The sheriff didn't like that answer. Not one bit. He told Elias there could be consequences, said the town council was concerned.
Ayanna heard everything from inside the house. When the sheriff left, she came to the porch and I could see it in her.
I should leave before I bring more trouble to your door.
The only trouble on my door came wearing a badge today.
She tried to leave that night, packed what little she had to me, which was nothing of me, and waited for Elias to fall asleep.
But it wasn't me who stopped her, it was Elias. He was sitting on the porch steps in the dark like he'd known she would try.
If you leave, that's your choice, and I'll respect it always.
Then why are you sitting here in the dark waiting for me?
This porch feels dead how they're different.
She sat down on those steps next to him, not touching, not talking. They just sat there in the dark, side by side.
After that night, something was settled between them. She stopped talking about leaving, and Elias started smiling again.
But the town wasn't done. Margaret Hollis and her church ladies started a petition duel, wanted the sheriff to remove Ayanna, but when I heard about that petition, I went to every name on that list and I said, shame on you. Every last one of you. That woman was beaten and left for dead.
I told Elias about the petition because he deserved to know. He listened. Then he walked to the mantel, looked at...
As the weeks passed, Ayanna started to come alive. Not all at once, that in pieces, like a flower opens. She showed me which plants you can eat and which ones will make you sick. She showed me how to read the clouds for rain 2 days ahead.
Elias took her down to the creek one afternoon. Somewhere that was just theirs.
This creek has been here longer than anything I'll ever build.
My people say moving water carries prayers to the sky.
She started singing while she worked around the ranch, Apache songs. At first she'd stop, but after a while she didn't.
I watched him change. The man I'd known for 20 years, Gatho, the one who ate alone, slept alone, and preferred it that way.
And instead of shutting down like he always did when anyone mentioned Sarah, he talked. He sat on that for an hour.
Sarah would have liked you. She had that same quiet strength.
She lives in every good thing about you. I can feel her.
He told me Ayanna said Sarah wasn't gone, just finished with her part. Then a new part began. Grief didn't feel like a locked door anymore.
She made him a gift that week, a small leather cord with 3 turquoise beads and an eagle feather. She said in her tradition it was
I came by the ranch one afternoon and found them sitting under the big cottonwood by the creek. She was teaching him Apache words and he was getting every single one wrong. And Elias Pate, that stone-faced silent man, he was laughing too. Getting the words wrong on purpose, I think.
You are the worst student I have ever had in my life.
Then I guess you'll have to keep teaching me forever.
That was the happiest I'd seen either of them. Sitting by that creek, laughing over words the whole world shrunk.
That Sunday, Margaret Hollis stood up in church and said Elias Cray was living in sin with a heathen woman and that any God-fearing citizen who did business with him was complicit.
I stood up in that church and I said, Margaret, the only sin in this room right now is the one coming out of your mouth. And I walked out.
The trouble came on a Thursday. 3 men rode out to the ranch just after noon. The sheriff, Tom Carver, and a man I didn't recognize.
I was there. I'd come to check on Ayana's stitches, so they were ready to come out. So I was on the porch when those 3 men rode.
He didn't run, just walked steady and slow, like a wall they'd have to go through.
The sheriff told him, "Last chance, Cray. We're taking her back where she belongs." And I will get Elias' voice. He said, "How this woman came to my land more dead than alive. She chose my barn to die behind."
The sheriff put his hand on his holster. And that's when Billy did the bravest thing I've ever seen a 19-year-old.
I wasn't brave. I was shaking so hard I thought I'd drop that pitchfork. But Mr. Cray had done right by me since the day he hired me.
Then I walked out too. Took my place beside Billy. I said, "Gentlemen, I'm the town doctor. If you start something here today,
They left. Not because they were afraid, but because they weren't ready for a fight. The sheriff tipped his hat, not as a courtesy, as a warning.
I watched the whole thing. When they left, I came out and I was trembling, something fierce. And I looked at Elias.
I meant every word. You're staying. That's the end of it.
No one has ever stood for me like that. No one.
2 oath Indians. 2 days later, something happened none of us expected. An old Apache man rode into town.
He didn't stop in town, just rode through like those people were invisible. Rode straight to Elias Cray's ranch.
He was her grandfather. He'd been searching for her for weeks, following her trail across the desert. The old man's name was Coda. After he and Ayana had their time, he walked over to Elias.
You gave water to my blood when the earth gave her only dust.
I only did what any decent man should have done for her.
A decent man and a good man are not the same thing.
That night, Coda built a fire in the yard. He sang songs that none of us knew, but all of us felt. He burned sage.
I sat on that porch and watched an Apache elder bless a white man's ranch in the year of our Lord 1873, and I thought,
After Coda arrived, something changed in the town. Not overnight, these things never happen overnight, but an Apache elder.
Coda stayed for 3 weeks. And every day he was there, he did something that confused the hell out of this town. She looked at him like he was a rattlesnake coiled on the counter. And that old man tipped his head and said, "Good morning, hope that if I..."
I'll be honest with you. I didn't change my mind because I wanted to. I changed my mind because that old Apache man pulled a thorn out of my son's foot when...
That was the first crack, and once one person cracks, others follow. Tom Carver dropped off feed at the ranch without being asked.
The night before Coda left, he asked to speak with Elias alone. They walked up to the overlook.
He told me what Coda said on that ridge. The old man said, my granddaughter has walked through fire and come out the other side.
Elias told him yes. He said he didn't deserve her, but he'd spend every day trying to.
Oh.
And you are.
Coda left the next morning at dawn. He rode that painted horse back the way he came, straight through town.
That evening, after Coda had gone, I found Ayana Madrid. He'd been dying him. She was crying, kept crying.
My grandfather says you are my home now. Are you ready for that?
I've been ready since the morning I found you behind that barn.
I wasn't there for the words, but I was there the morning after, and I'm telling you, Nelly, the air was different.
Elias came into the kitchen and he kissed her on the forehead while she was pouring coffee. Just like she looked up and...
Not in the church, but on the overlook at sunset. I held the rings and tried not to cry and failed completely at both.
Coda came back for the wedding. He brought 6 members of the tribe. They sang old songs, danced old dances.
I spent 5 years waiting to die on this ranch. Then you came.
I came here to stop living. You taught me how to start.
They named her Sarah Coda Cray. One name for the woman who taught him how to love. One name for the man who trusted him with the world.
That ranch is still standing. Elias and Ayana are still there, older, slower.
The most remarkable thing I ever saw was a man carry a dying stranger into his house and refuse to let the world take her away. That's it. That's the whole miracle.
He found her curled up behind his barn like a wounded animal. She had been there for 3 days, waiting to die.
Behind his barn like something left to break. 3 days in the dirt and dust, too tired to stay awake. Her dress was torn, her lips were cracked, her hands had bled to bone, and she had made her peace with God to die out there alone. But the world don't always end the way you plan it to. Sometimes mercy finds you when you swore that it was through. He didn't ask her name, didn't ask her where she'd been. He just lifted her up gently and he carried her within. She flinched at every kindness like a wound afraid of light. He left water by her bedside, left the candle burning bright. The town would call him crazy, say she's trouble and she's wrong. But the silence in that kitchen was the first place she'd belong. But the world don't always end the way you plan it to. Sometimes mercy finds you when you swore that it was through. He didn't ask her name, didn't ask her where she'd been. He just lifted her up gently and he carried her within. She turned